Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is Keith Niebuhr with Auburn Live and On 3, and this is another edition of 4 Down Territory. Let's get started. All right, first down, let's get started. 251 Tiger asks, who is the most likely flip to Auburn? Well, I'm going to go with a guy named Tyler Scott. He's a 3-star cornerback / safety from Pebblebrook High School in Mableton, Georgia, just outside of Atlanta. Currently committed to Arkansas State. So you're probably thinking, why is my team trying to flip somebody from a non-Power 5 school? Well, he committed in June, and since then he's really blown up. New film came out. Schools love his height. He's 6'2", over 180 pounds. He has that length that you want from a defensive back. We have him listed as a safety, but as it turns out, Auburn likes him at cornerback. So Auburn has offered, Missouri has offered, Mississippi State has offered, and other schools have also gotten heavily involved. So this is a guy to certainly watch. It's a guy that's become, quite frankly, probably one of the 10 to 15 biggest recruiting targets for the Auburn Tigers. They like everything about him: frame, attitude, skill set, length, all that stuff. Currently committed to Arkansas State, but he is going to officially visit Auburn this weekend. Again, he's going to officially visit Auburn this weekend. And so while the Tigers have a chance to flip multiple candidates, there are multiple flip candidates, let's say, they're working hard on Darren Reed, the 4-star defensive tackle from LSU. They're working hard on Bo Hughley, the 4-star offensive tackle from Langston Hughes High School just outside of Atlanta. And they're working on a bunch of other guys committed to other schools as well. Quarterback Brock Glenn, who's verbal to Ohio State. But right now, of all these guys, the guy that they may have the best chance with is Tyler Scott of Pebblebrook. He will be at Auburn this weekend for the Penn State game. If that goes well, and Auburn continues to push, it wouldn't be a surprise to see him open things up in the near future. So Tyler Scott, name to remember on the flip category. All right, second down. Bruce Pearl, yes, Bruce Pearl. I don't know if it's the Bruce Pearl, probably not, but Bruce Pearl on the corner asks, Keith, how does kickoff time affect recruit attendance? And I think what he's getting at is, which time slot hurts Auburn, which time slot helps Auburn. Well, let's start with the obvious one. When you start at 11 a.m. Central Time, noon Eastern Time, you're really eliminating the chance that a lot of kids are probably going to make it to your school. For one thing, those games typically are against non-Power 5 opponents, or it's a lower tier SEC game. So that kind of keeps them away. Now, last week you had Texas hosting Alabama in that noon kickoff game for Fox, but that's a little bit different. That's something that they do every week, so everybody's sort of used to it. Also, Austin's a big city. They got plenty of hotels there, no problem. But an 11 a.m. kickoff in Auburn is a little bit problematic for a few reasons. One, a lot of these kids, most of them play the night before. Now, there's always that occasional off-week type deal, but or somebody who played on Thursday night. But if you played on Friday night and you've got to be somewhere for 11 a.m. kickoff the next day, that means you got to get there at about 9, okay? And you may be tired from playing the night before, and you may have a drive. So what I remember about being a teenager is not wanting to get up before 6 a.m., right? I mean, come on. You have to do it for school enough. You don't want to do it on the weekends, especially after a Friday night game. So 11 a.m. kickoff, very bad. Not good, not beneficial to Auburn. Now, the question is, which one's better, 3:30 or 7? And I'm kind of split on this one. 3:30 is great because you can get home after the game. You can go to the game. You have plenty of time to get there during the day. You could stay for the whole game, and then you can leave. And if you live within a reasonable driving distance of Auburn, you could still get home. If you're in Atlanta, Birmingham, Mobile, Montgomery, you could still get home by a decent hour, and your parents don't have to worry about either them or you driving on the roads late at night, right? Okay, so that's beneficial. And also it gives you plenty of time to get there in the morning. So 3:30 is not bad. Those night games, though, the atmosphere is usually, we can all agree, usually a little more intense. People who have been celebrating all day, let's say. It gets to that night game, that's the crescendo. It is intense in the stands, and that atmosphere is what you're trying to sell to recruits, right? And they have all day to get there. They can play Friday night, they can sleep in, they can take their time getting to Auburn, and then they can get there still early, enjoy the atmosphere in and around Auburn, and then obviously spend as much time with the staff as they can before the game, as much time as the staff can stay with them. Stay with them, excuse me. Now, the question with the night game is, and we saw this the last couple of weeks, now granted the opponents were not marquee opponents, there's no doubt about that, But in that third quarter, you start looking at your watch if you're a recruit, and if it's not a close game or the opponent's not very good, and you say, boy, I could maybe get out of here and beat the traffic and get home by a reasonable hour. So while you love the atmosphere, there's still that element of, boy, it's getting late. It's 11. It's going to be 11 before we get out of here. It's going to be midnight. And then we got a 2-hour drive back. That becomes a little bit of an issue for some people, especially if you're a parent in, let's say, the Metro Atlanta area and you send your child to that game. Do you really want them out on the road at 2 a.m.? So that's a question. But really, it's a toss-up between 3:30 and 7:30. They both have their advantages. I think the advantages are a little greater, the highs on the 7:30 side, but there's also a few more negatives on the 7:30 side. But I think, by and large, most people prefer the 7:30 because of the atmosphere, right? But the 3:30 is right there with it. It has all the perfect requirements. Plenty of time to get there, plenty of time to enjoy the game. You can get home before a reasonable hour. But again, people love those 7:30 kickoffs. And so do recruits. All right, third down. G. Russ, one of our good posters, asks, who is somebody higher on the board than we might suspect? Higher on Auburn's board. I'll give you two guys. And I think they're worthy of being higher on the boards than maybe their rankings suggest. And that's a couple of junior college offensive linemen, both tackles. I guess they could play guard or tackle. Auburn loves these swing guys. But one of them is Isaiah Jada, South Carolina commit from Snow College in Utah. Very well-known and well-respected junior college program out in the Mountain West region of the country. Now, again, he's committed to South Carolina, but is probably going to officially visit Auburn. In fact, he said he is going to officially visit. Former teammates with Keontae Scott, the Auburn defensive back. So Auburn's got a little bit of an in there. And then another guy is Elijah Philippe, who's a junior college offensive lineman from Lackawanna College in Pennsylvania. So he's not committed anywhere right now, and he also hopes to officially visit Auburn. That would probably be after the season. Both these guys play a lot of Saturday games, or mostly Saturday games, quite frankly. So it's not always easy for them to get everywhere. But both these guys are among the top tier of Auburn targets, and you got a couple reasons why. Very high on the board. So you're looking at the rankings, and they're not guys that are they don't have the high 4 or 5-star type rankings. They're junior college guys, and junior college guys barely ever get ranked super high. They got to really be dominant, freaks out there. But really, Auburn's need. Okay, so Auburn has a huge need on the offensive line. They're recruiting out of 3 buckets, basically. High school guys, 4 to 5 guys. Junior college guys, 2 to 3 guys. And then they're going to have to go to the portal to land another maybe 1, 2, 3 guys. So they've got to build for the future with the high school and then build for the now with the other 2 buckets, JUCO and transfer market. And so that really makes these guys, I don't know if priority is the right word, but they're big time targets of Auburn. And you're looking at it and you're saying, well, this guy's ranked here, and this guy's ranked here, and this guy's committed to South Carolina. But when you add it all up, Auburn's need, they're both very good. They both have the body frame. They both have the skill set. And then also, obviously, they have a chance to play fairly early. So, I think those are 2 guys. And we mentioned Tyler Scott earlier. Obviously, he's higher on the board than you would think, a 3-star committed to Arkansas State. But to me, these are 2 guys that not a lot of people are talking about, but are certainly big targets for the Tigers. Jada, Philippe, both offensive linemen from the JUCO college. Actually, there's no such thing as JUCO college. From the junior colleges. All right, 4th down, everybody. 4th down. It's a big one. All right, Steady Dividends asks, Keith, will Auburn take quarterback Aaron Noland in the 2024 class? Well, that's a good question, and here's why we don't know the answer to that yet. Would they like him? Sure, but there's some factors in play here. So let's start with the first. Right now, Auburn has 4 quarterbacks on scholarship. You got your starter, TJ Finley. You got your backup, Robbie Ashford. You got your number 3, Zach Calzada. And then you have your number 4, Holden Gerner, who's a true freshman. Will all those guys be back next year? Well, that's the first unknown. There's always some attrition. A guy that's not starting says, I'm out of here. Guy may get hurt. A guy may not feel comfortable in a system. A guy may say, I only have a little bit of time left. Let me go play for a 1AA school, a football championship subdivision school. So you got to figure out that first. You'd always like to have 4 scholarships, 4 quarterbacks on scholarships, although you could survive with 3. So there's that. Then who will Auburn take in the 2023 class, this current cycle at quarterback? You got some some notable targets. J.J. Cole committed to Iowa State, seems locked in with them right now. Emory Williams, quarterback, committed to Miami from Milton, Florida. A few weeks ago, he said, hey, he's going to visit Auburn. Then he went radio silent with me. So I don't know what his plans are right now, although he subsequently, our Miami site reported that he's locked in with Miami, even though they have 2 QBs committed. Now, if he shows up at Auburn this weekend, we'll know something might be up. And then also there's another quarterback that Auburn has continued to recruit, even though he is committed to Ohio State, and that's Brock Glenn out of Memphis, okay? So what happens there? Does anybody else rise up the boards over the next few months? Do they decide to take a JUCO guy? Do they decide to, if all else fails, go get somebody out of the transfer or grad transfer market? So you've got those things in play. Also, in 2024, you already have one quarterback committed, Adrian Posse, out of Miami. He was at Miami Pace last year. He began August at Miami Christopher Columbus, and now he's at Miami Edison. Hasn't played, to my knowledge, yet this season, but a 4-star guy, big arm, productive quarterback, certainly on the 7-on-7 level down in South Florida, needs to kind of have the opportunity to do that in games now. But a guy that Auburn thinks has a really high upside. So he's already committed. So does Aaron Nolan, would he consider being part of a 2 QB class? According to our intel, yes, he's okay with that. And our intel, by the way, is him. He says, I'm okay with that. He's a competitive guy. He's putting up big numbers. He's throwing for 4 TDs, I think, or 3 TDs in 4 straight games. So he's doing all the right things. And he's not afraid of competition. What we don't know is how would that impact Posse? Would he get skittish? Would he say, I don't want to be part of a 2 QB class? We don't know the answer to that just yet. I think he has said that he'd be okay with it, but you never really know until things happen, and that goes for Nolan too. But I think we can reasonably assume that Nolan is okay with it because he's still welcome to the idea of being recruited by Auburn, even though they already have another quarterback committed. So we know Auburn likes Aaron Nolan a lot. We know he's a productive player at the high school level. But again, we don't know how many quarterbacks Auburn will be able to take next year. We assume there's probably going to be some attrition. I mean, guys that aren't playing sometimes just say, hey, that's it, okay? Or I've had a year in this system. I think maybe I'm better suited for something else. So there'll probably be somebody you would think maybe that's not here next year that's on the team at quarterback right now. So then it becomes, do they sign somebody this class? We don't know the answer to that. But either way, if you like 2 guys, you probably recruit both of them. So I think Auburn is going to continue to recruit Aaron Nolan. We just don't know whether or not he will end up there because he still has a lot of schools recruiting him, guys, and more are going to continue to recruit him because 1, he's very good. 2, he's very popular. Kids are going to want to play with him, other kids. So there's a lot to be determined there. So that was a 4-minute answer to a pretty simple question, but I wanted to give you all the dynamics in play here. Yes, Auburn likes him. Yes, Aaron Nolan likes Auburn, but we just don't know whether he will end up in the class. If I'm Auburn, I absolutely go after them both. But, Aaron Nolan and Adrian Posse. But I don't run the show. Anyway, that'll do it for this edition of 4 Down Territory. I am Keith Niebuhr with Auburn Live and On 3. Make sure you go to auburnlive.com. Check us out. We got plenty of free content. We currently have a 7-day free trial. And then also, be sure to like this or don't like it on YouTube. But subscribe to our YouTube channel, Auburn Live at YouTube. So everybody take care. Have a good weekend. It's Penn State week. Be safe. Enjoy the game. And we'll get back to you soon.